Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are tearing into a match that everyone thought would be this tight defensive battle.
Right, a real nail-biter of a conference final.
And instead, it turned into an an eye-watering obliteration. We are, of course, talking about the Audi 2025 MLS Cup Playoffs Eastern Conference Final.
That's right. This was New York City FC heading down to Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale to face Inter Miami. This was on November 29th, 2025.
And when that final whistle blew, the score was so lopsided you had to double-check your phone.
Oh, absolutely.
Lopsided is like the understatement of the year. Inter Miami beat NYCFC 5-1. 5-2-1.
Wow.
This wasn't just a win. It was a massive statement that secures their first ever trip to the MLS Cup Final. A huge moment for that club.
It's a historic night, and that's really why we're here, right? Our mission today is to go way beyond just that score.
Exactly.
We want to analyze how a match that started so cautiously, like a real chess match, just completely exploded into a 5-goal rout. We'll look at the performances, the records that were just shattered, and what this all means for both of these teams.
For you, the listener, the key thing to take away here is understanding that dynamic of, veteran star power versus a really resilient young team and a huge pressure cooker.
And how it all broke down.
Yeah, and the specific tactics that let Miami's chemistry just overwhelm NYCFC and how many records they rewrote in 90 minutes. Let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So if you tuned in for those first few minutes on November 29th, it looked exactly like the game everyone was predicting.
Very cagey.
Both teams started out with so much caution. NYCFC had a clear plan. They were pressing high, trying to collapse the space around Busquets.
Forcing Miami to play long, which is not what they want to do.
Not at all. And you saw Messi dropping way back, almost like a third midfielder, just to get on the ball.
And you know what? For about 10 minutes, it was working. New York City looked composed. They looked organized. They seemed to have handled that early moment really well.
But then that's where the sheer quality and speed of Miami's attack, guided by those veterans, just changed everything.
It only took one tiny lapse.
That moment came in the 14th minute.
Yeah.
Walk us through that breakdown, because it was just surgical.
It really was. So you have Messi. He pulls 2 defenders to the middle, which opens up a lane.
Right.
Busquets gets a quick ball, spots the run of Tadeo Allende, who has been on fire this postseason.
He timed it perfectly.
A perfect run onto a chipped ball over the top. But it was the first touch. His first touch was just immaculate. It took him away from the defender and set him up perfectly for the shot. 1-0.
And that one goal, it didn't just break the tension. I think it completely shattered NYCFC's game plan.
It did. They were suddenly chasing the game way earlier than they ever wanted to.
And the follow-up was just brutal. Less than 10 minutes later, 23rd minute, Allende scores again. It's 2-0.
Yeah, and that second goal felt like a direct result of the first one. The NYCFC backline started to drop a little deeper, right? Trying to prevent that run in behind.
Which created a huge gap.
A massive gap between their midfield and defense, and Miami just exploited it. Allende found himself in space again, took a cutback, and finished with that composure he's shown all playoffs.
But, it's important to say, NYCFC didn't just fold right then and there.
No, they didn't, which says a lot about that young team's character.
They pushed back and found a lifeline right before halftime.
They did. In the 37th minute, they get a dangerous set piece. And this is where their veteran, Maxi Morales, delivers a perfect ball.
Finds Justin Hawk.
A powerful, unstoppable header, cuts the deficit to 2-1. That was the perfect response to take into the locker room, gave them so much hope.
That goal felt huge. It really injected some belief back into them, and it felt like, okay, we have a real contest here.
It did. And the second half started with NYCFC carrying that momentum. They had a real surge for the first 15 minutes or so.
They were aggressive, winning tackles, getting forward.
But Inter Miami, with Busquets and Messi just controlling that midfield, they just weathered it. They never panicked. They absorbed the punch and then delivered the counterpunch that ended the game.
And that came in the 67th minute. This was the real turning point, wasn't it?
This was the dagger.
Hey.
NYCFC had committed players forward. A turnover happens deep in Miami's half, and boom, the transition is on.
Messi gets the ball.
He picks it up near the center circle, draws 3 defenders to him, but instead of trying to do it all himself, he plays this perfect little slip pass to Matteo Silvetti.
Who's wide open.
Totally unmarked, cool finish, and it's 3-1. That 2-goal cushion was back, and, that really broke their spirit.
It felt like that goal just confirmed to NYCFC that even at their absolute best, Miami just had another gear The margin for error was 0.
And from there, the floodgates just opened.
The final stretch was just a devastating display of firepower.
Right. They turned a comfortable lead into a historic statement. NYCFC was pushing, desperate, leaving these huge gaps at the back.
And Lasco Segovia gets one in the 87th minute.
A swift counterattack makes it 4-1. And Jordi Alba was involved again, of course.
And then, just to put a bow on it, 2 minutes later, Tadeo Allende completes his hat trick. A stunning finish to make it 5-1. What a performance.
And we have to pause on Allende for a second because that accomplishment put him right in the MLS record books.
Oh, yeah.
His hat trick got him to 8 goals in these playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
That ties the league record for most goals in a single postseason.
A record that stood since 2002. Carlos Ruiz.
Untouched since then. It's just incredible.
That's historic production.
Yeah.
It puts Allende in the conversation with some all-time greats in terms of playoff efficiency. We talk about the veterans, but he's been the executioner.
He has, but it's the veterans who didn't score that were just as important. I mean, Messi, even without a goal, was the central axis for everything.
His assist on Silvetti's goal was his 7th of the postseason.
Which is another record that pushed him past the MLS record for most combined goals and assists in a single playoff run. He's just playing on another level.
And you just cannot overlook Jordi Alba. He had 3 assists in this game.
3 assists from a left back.
In a conference final.
Yeah.
He just owned that left channel, combining with Messi, with Allende. It was like an offensive conveyor belt.
And this is where that team chemistry becomes devastating, you know? Allende's ability to attack space is the perfect complement to Messi's playmaking and Alba's runs.
As the game went on, you could just see NYCFC's young defenders getting tired, mentally and physically.
They just couldn't track all the movement. Miami's quality took over. It proved they aren't just a collection of stars. They are a coherent, strategic unit.
So let's just shift over to New York City FC for a minute. Just getting to the Eastern Conference Final was a huge success for them, right?
Oh, absolutely. A surprising run, especially considering their rebuild. But they came into this final with some serious challenges.
And those were, I think, fully exposed by the end.
For sure. They were missing key players. Their top scorer, Alonso Martinez, was out. The midfielder, Andres Perea, was out.
And that absence of Martinez, that real cutting edge, was so obvious when they had to start chasing the game. They create some moments, but just lack that clinical finish.
Exactly. And that pressure leads to the fatigue, which leads to the defensive breakdowns that Miami punished so ruthlessly.
But if you zoom out, the bigger picture for NYCFC, I mean, reaching this final with one of the youngest squads in the league, that gives them an incredible experience baseline, doesn't it?
It's a painful lesson, but maybe the clearest one they could get. It shows the front office exactly what they're missing.
Right.
So despite the 5-1 score, they're probably ahead of schedule. They show they can hang with the best for 60 minutes.
But the loss shows exactly where they need to add that veteran quality, that depth, to last the full 90.
Yeah, midfield control under pressure and a real defensive organizer.
Meanwhile, Inter Miami's path to the MLS Cup has just been utterly dominant. This 5-1 win followed a 4-seal crushing of FC Cincinnati away from home.
When you add it up, they've outscored their opponents 13-1 over their last 3 playoff games.
13-1. That is just a frightening historic level of dominance.
And that stat, I think, confirms the big picture meaning for this whole Inter Miami project. It's no longer just about one superstar.
It's a balanced, dangerous team.
Exactly. You have the veterans Busquets, Alba, Messi providing the structure and calmness. And then you have the younger guys, Allende, Silvetti, Segovia delivering the goals. The whole strategy is validated.
And now they get to host MLS Cup 2025. This victory gave them the Eastern Conference title, their 3rd major trophy. And their opponent will be the Vancouver Whitecaps,
who beat the expansion side San Diego FC 3-1 in the West. That's going to be a fascinating final.
It really will be.
But one last thought on NYCFC. That 5-1 score hurts, no question. But their journey shows they're ahead of schedule. They just, ran into a buzzsaw.
The difference when you boil it all down was just experience and decision-making under pressure. Miami's veterans were calm and surgical.
A stark contrast to NYCFC's fatigue and, like you said, that lag of a cutting edge when they had to take risks.
And those risks turned into fatal errors.
Which is the key lesson for them. And, that brings us to our final thought for you, the listener, to chew on.
Okay.
Given Miami's unprecedented dominance, that 13-1 goal difference, and the fact that their project is now a fully balanced team, what specific, probably expensive adjustments does NYCFC need to make this winter to credibly close that massive gap next season?
That is the challenge. The gap is real, and it's up to the rest of the conference to try and bridge it. What a deep dive into a truly defining match. Thanks for joining us.
We'll catch you next time.